Good evening. I'm Socrates, Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening and welcome to Sock and Doc. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the Deep South. Mississippi, what I like to call the Garden State. Down here in Mississippi, where the grass is just a little bit greener and the air is just a little bit cleaner. You can go for days and days and days and not see anyone. We have less than 3 million people in the entire state, of which 45 to 50% of those are people of color. Mississippi, the most diverse state in the nation, the state that has the most number of minorities or people of color of any other state, right here in Mississippi. We have the highest number of African American elected officials of any other state. We have African Americans that are running the city government here at the capital city. They run the mayor's office as well as the majority of the city council. They run the board of supervisors. All 5 members of the board are African American males. That's about to change. 2 females, 2 black women was recently elected, and they will take office on the 1st of the year as members of the Hinds County Board of Supervisors. We run the school board, with the school superintendent being African American. We run the airport authority, with the executive director being African American. So down in Mississippi, if you want to come to a place where African Americans are in charge because they have the numbers and the ability to elect themselves, then Jackson, Mississippi is where you need to be. You know, if I'm on the reservoir fishing and I see someone catching fish on the other side of the river and I'm not catching any on my side of the river, I'll pull up my anchor and I'll ease my boat over on that side of the river. So if you're African American out there and you're looking for a place to invest your time and your resources to make a difference, someplace where you can actually be in charge, you can actually be the mayor, you can actually be the president of the board of supervisors, you can actually be a president of a major university, then come to Mississippi. Because you're not going to be those things in Los Angeles or in Stanford or in Mexico. But in Mississippi, you could make a difference. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to share this program with your friends and family. It's critically important to us. We want you to subscribe, be a subscriber. You will get the kind of information that we don't share on the regular program. And each and every month, you'll get our newsletter. So we look forward to you becoming a fan and subscribe. It's only 99 cents a month. So we need your help there. If you're watching us on YouTube, then we want you to subscribe to this program. It's critically important that you do that. Our subscription numbers are growing every day. Enjoy the reels and the short videos that we have there for you. We realize that your attention span is very short, very limited. So not only do we have all of our videos there, but you can go and enjoy the reels and the shorts, which will give you a 1.5 to 2 minute version of what's highlighted inside of that show. You can do that on Instagram as well as on Facebook. So you see, there's no excuse. You ought to be a part of the We Believe family. We're growing and we're being seen all over the world. in over 139 countries. Now, if you're watching us on our website, webelievedigital.com, you see that we're a little bit different. There, things are categorized like inspiration and sports. If you want to know something about Bishop Ronnie Crudup over at New Horizon Church, you can go to inspiration and you can find his sermons there. If you scroll down, you can see We Believe Radio. That's right. We have our own internet radio station that is broadcasting all over the world with some of the very best music you ever want to hear. If you're homesick, and you remember what it was like down in the Buttermilk Bottom, or down on Ferry Street, or down on Peach Street, and Mobile Street in Hattiesburg. If you remember those things and you want to reminisce for a moment, check us out on We Believe Radio. HT3 is the DJ over there that comes on Wednesday night and Friday night, and he'd be glad to take your call and talk to you about your hometown. You know, 85 to 90% of y'all are from Mississippi in the first place. Do your DNA and look at your roots and where you come from, and this Mississippi. So you ought to be like everything else in nature. You ought to come home. You know, a lot of people, a lot of animals come home knowing that that's where they're going to die. Like the salmon swim back upstream to the place that they were born, and they know that's not going to be a great outcome, but you have to come home. And that's why we have things in titles, like, what are you, Socrates? Well, I'm an African American. Well, the key thing there is I'm African. What are you to my white brothers? You are European Americans. The key thing there is that you're European. And so we have to distinguish these things and understand the significance of them, because we got to understand our culture and where we came from and how we ought to give back. Going all the way back to the days of Marcus Garvey, we got to understand our culture. Now, as always, my co-host is here, Dr. Eldridge Henderson. He's a man that I claim to be a smart, dangerous man, because he escaped from the plantation on the Mississippi Delta. I said he escaped, because not many did. And you can go back and look at the Mississippi Delta, and some are still there. Some are still living in conditions that are just absolutely horrible. I won't say they're worse than third world countries, because that would be insulting to third world countries. I'll just say that it's deplorable. And some are still there, but my co-host got out. He's street smart, he's book smart, and he's one of the most sought after speakers in the entire country today. Dr. Henderson, how have you been, sir?
I've been well, sir.
Good. Good having you on the show today. How was your week?
Thank you. A very good week.
What did you do?
Well, I did I would call it not a sermon, but some remarks in church on Sunday, matter of fact, Saturday evening, which was very surprising. And I had a chance to visit some relatives down in what I call the bottom in Hinds County, in the so-called poor part of the county where I used to live years ago. And this week, on Monday and today, I had a chance to consult with some community organizations about grant writing and how to secure funds. Some want some new 501c3s, and my job is to help them learn how to write their grants so they can get their own money, save $4,000 or $5,000, and write it themselves. Why pay someone to write a grant when we can teach one how to do it if they have a third-grade education or higher? That's what we do.
Now, Doc, that's needed. That's very much needed. People need to be able to procure opportunities for themselves, because nobody is going to come and give it to you. Santa Claus may or may not be coming.
Well, he's not coming because there's no such thing as Santa Claus.
Holy Doc.
Now, the thing is, Mr. Socrates, I get tired of you all spreading that false information to these people. Somebody will hear that and believe that, especially the young folks. You have to teach reality and truth to young people and let them know that there is no such thing as Santa Claus. That's mother and father and grandma. Don't believe that propaganda. You have to teach them that you have to work to get what you want in life. You have to plan for it. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get anything other than hardships, hard times. a lot of prejudice against you, oppression,
Wow.
miseducation. That's what you get when you brainwash the young people and have them thinking that the angel going to come in and give them some money if they lose a teeth.
So you use this term brainwashed. Now, many would say that African Americans have been brainwashed in America to believe in things that keep them in bondage.
Of course, that's a historical fact. And it was planned that way by the so-called, and I always like to call it, the so-called founding fathers, the richest people in America, where 90% of them were from Europe, almost directly. And if they were not, their fathers were. And they had all the resources, including the slaves. And the good part about it, they say this is so good until we are going to codify this, put it in our laws on the local, state, and federal level, and enjoy living in paradise, because when we were in Europe, we were catching hell.
Now, Doc, let's talk about Europe for a minute. We got a serious issue with what's going on over in Europe, in the continent. We don't understand what's going on with Israel and the Palestinian people.
Who doesn't understand?
Americans. I don't know how black people feel about that war. Now, recently you brought some statistical information that indicated that 73% of Republicans were in favor of the war and 36% of Democrats. But you didn't tell us how black people felt.
Well, a lot of black people don't feel any way until they hear what the Democrats say. Now, they'll go along with the Democrats. And the few that are Republicans, 10 to 12%, they are usually, for whatever the Republicans want. Now, that is not good news, but that's just a fact. And when you look at international relations, the Republicans want to have a strong hand in dominating the areas that they are already controlling. And the Israelis, or our so-called best friends, they own a lot of things in America, and they also own a lot of politicians, directly and indirectly. And that's why they can get all the money they want, even if they have to get what we call orders passed in the middle of the night through executive orders, or where they have money already assigned somewhere, and the president can reallocate that money, just as you could do the same thing on your budget items. You can move that money around without getting votes from the legislature, if you choose to do so.
Now we're going to talk about the Jews, and we're going to talk about their ability to amass wealth, and we're going to talk about their ability to own politicians and things of that nature. But I need you to take me back for a moment, because the invasion of Palestine is something that's not new in the history of this world. I was watching a documentary on World War II, and Hitler had the intentions of ruling the whole world. And during World War II, 60 million people lost their lives.
That's right. That's documented. Now, whenever there's a government count, it's always more. We all know that. Because government hides things. They're not going to tell the truth about anything.
Why would Hitler want to kill that many people? I don't say just Hitler and the Germans, because it would be unfair, because Japan and Italy and France join in with it.
That's right. Well, because of domination. Everybody I know, when they get a few resources, they want more. And that's governments. Governments, nothing but people that had a power or the ability to manipulate their friends and peers to get in what I call positions of responsibility, where they make the laws. And whenever they do this, whether they're in the majority or not, they don't have to be in the majority if they control the finances, the military, and the court system. And that's who control those three areas. The richest people, the richest families, and the richest foundations in any country usually control the court system, the military, police forces. And when you do that, you can have anything to happen, and it's usually less than 10% of the population that make those decisions that cause us to starve to death, die, be relocated, or even fight against our will to protect that 10% interest. You know, you are one of the victims, I'm one of the victims, and many others have done all kinds of things that were mandated by the local, state, federal government that we didn't like, didn't endorse, and we had to do it or go to prison or get shot.
Now, Doc, these people, I've learned that there were more Europeans that were killed during World War II, because these were brothers and sisters killing one another.
Of course. Same as in America. Most of these wars that have happened since, I would say, the 1800s, patterned their strategy after American Constitution in the false concept where they were pretending and trying to make people believe that there's something called democracy and that we are going to always protect the general welfare of the people. There is no such thing in the world. Who cares about the people? I don't know not one major politician in the world that is concerned about the people. I'm talking about the majority. It's usually 10%. And I say the same thing about public schools in America and in most parts of the world. They're only concerned about 10% of the student body. The colleges and universities are the same. They'll let you go to school at these colleges and universities and major in anything you want. And they have books of volumes of studies that say, it says, if you major in this major, you will not be able to get a job. It was extinct 10 years ago.
Wow. Now, Doc, I'm gonna move away from this in just a minute, but I need a little clarification, because if Japan and France and Germany jumped on the rest of the world and was going to kill everybody because of ethnic cleansing and things of that nature, and if Dutch and Portugal and Spain and everybody invaded Africa and were going to kill everybody to get all of the resources that they need, who have the Africans invaded?
No one.
Who have African Americans killed in large numbers?
No one, in a significant manner. Now you say, who did the Africans invade? Now you don't know of any major instance where the Africans invaded anyone in Europe. They mostly fought among themselves because of territorial gains due to famine and other relocation matters. They would fight because one group would come from the desert or the forest into an area that had more food, production resources than they had to leave because of famine, the desert taking over the area, lack of rain and things of that nature.
So is there something about the black man that won't allow him to be aggressive and fight others?
Well, now he's very aggressive, but his training and culture has been not to kill at will, similar to the American Indians, what some people call the Native Americans. They were not taught by their culture just to kill everything that's around. They believed, and if you're going to kill some animals, you go and kill enough to provide for your food, clothing, and shelter. If you're going to fish in the ocean, you catch enough fish. The Eskimos, all of them, use that same cultural pattern. And that's why they never had a problem supporting themselves, even in the time when others were going through a depression. You didn't hear of the fact that there were no game in America. You can find all the meat you want on the ice pole. There is nothing but conservation, operations, and what I call ethnocentrism, and all of that's different. And the Europeans practice that ethnocentrism that says we are the supreme people, we think we own or should own everything, and we're going to ask for it and take it all at the same time. Now that's what dominant people do. And black people are going to have to learn to become more dominant. And the remedy for that, Mr. Socrates, is for black people to control the areas where they're in the majority. And that's a good thing you were saying during your introduction. You invited all of your cousins to come back to Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. Now, I hope you're talking about the lower middle class up. Currently, we have enough poor folks in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, but there are thousands of black people that were born in Mississippi, Georgia, and other places. And Mississippi used to be predominantly black, population-wise, during the peak of slavery. Georgia, the same.
Now, hold up a minute. You're telling me there were more African Americans in Mississippi than Europeans?
Of course, most certainly. Georgia, during the peak of slavery, when that cotton was popping. They had slaves already been abolished in 1808, and they needed more slaves. And of course, they said, we're going to get them from two places. We're going to get as many as we can from the Caribbean area. We call it the islands, and we're going to create our own. And that's why in Mississippi, Georgia, and especially in Virginia, they set up these breeding plantations, and that's all they did. They were not doing cotton and corn and indigo and all that stuff. They were not in the timber business. Their job was to breed slaves, and they would breed them like they would a prize horse, create them some prize men, prize women, and all they had to do is do their best to have a child every 10 or 11 months, from about 15 to 25.
So you're saying that when the slave trade was outlawed, they started their own breeding camps?
Of course they did, most certainly. And that's what you're supposed to do if you want to pretend you don't want to be a person that hurts black. So we love them because we don't want to transport them anymore from Africa. We don't want to hurt human beings anymore. So you just legislate certain policies, continue to do the same thing, and make it codified in your laws, local, state, and national, and you can do anything you want, and the people are not going to say anything because the people that are benefiting make the law, and those that won't say anything, I call it your own kind, they won't say anything because they want to one day be able to own them some slaves, be able to one day to own a gold mine or whatever it is. So they're not going to say anything.
Well, when are we going to become brothers and sisters?
Never.
Christianity says that we should be brothers and sisters. And so we all share the same origin. When are we going to get beyond this hatred that permeates society, that make you kill 60 million in World War II? I don't know what was killed in World War I. I don't know the statistics on the Middle Passage on how many Africans were killed during that time. Yeah. When are we going to get beyond that?
It will never happen as long as you have at least two human beings. As long as you have two human beings, at least a male and a female. They're going to generate and start a new population. And when one gets ahead of the other, they're going to figure out some way to take it. Look at Cain and Abel. Look at what happened after the flood, where the old boy Noah got drunk after he settled down after the water disappeared. I guess he said, man, I'm tired. I'm tired. He laid around, got drunk, laying up there naked. Read the Bible, you'll find it. I make it sound so clear where a third grader will understand it, but that's man for you.
Well,
you can't expect any good to come from man, especially those that have the economic power to keep things in their own sphere of influence.
You're watching We Believe, and this is Doc and Sock. And so we are having a discussion about the history of America, the condition of America, and human nature. And we're talking about those things that we got to discuss openly in this world to prove Doc wrong.
You can't do it, sir. I hate to tell you. You cannot prove me wrong. And when you start talking about Christianity in America, you're telling me right there that I don't have a good, realistic view of Christianity. Man, there are very few Christians in America. And when I say Christians, I mean practicing Christians that believe in brotherhood, that believe in equity, that believe in constitutional government for all the people, that believe that you ought to have at least a semblance of equality, that believe that you shouldn't have racial segregation, housing segregation, military segregation, church segregation, gender segregation. We practice all of that here in America and throughout the world, in Africa, Asia, Middle East. Everybody is against someone, and the very Christians that's against all these entities that I mentioned, homosexuals, bigender, and all kinds of folks, those same Christians are the ones that messing with them at night.
Now, Doc, we got to go to a station break, but when we come back, we're going to deal with some issues on the local side and going to deal a little bit with what's going on with our ex-president, former president, Donald Trump. Stay tuned. We're going to a break, and we'll be right back.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
Welcome back. This is Doc and Sock. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi in the We Believe Broadcasting Studio. We Believe Broadcasting Network. We are a media company that consists of podcasts, broadcasts, internet radio station, print, and other forms of media. We Believe. Call us at 800-492-5186. Join us on our program. We'd love to have you share with us in the comment sections, and we're going to try and interact with you a little bit better than we have been in the past. Now, we're going to get right back to our program. Doc, I just got a news bulletin that said former President Trump has been barred from the primary in Colorado by the Supreme Court of the state of Colorado.
Okay.
What does that mean? Is Mississippi next to bar him?
No, Mississippi not going to do that. And you probably might not believe it, but that is one of the best things in the world to happen to the former president, to be barred anywhere in any state. If you lose, first of all, they're going to appeal it. But during the appeal, you're going to have his talking people. We call it, they all have talking points. They're going to be talking about how they discriminated against him because the people are afraid of him. He was the greatest president we ever had. Therefore, that's why they don't want him. That's what they're going to be saying, that he is going to save America, that he's going to close the border and not have all those immigrants coming over here. He didn't do that. He allegedly put up a fence, told them, y'all stay right there in Mexico, and we're going to deal with you later. And look what happened. They opened the borders when Joe Biden got in office.
So let me be clear. You think him being barred from the primary in Colorado is a good thing for President Trump?
For the Republicans.
For the Republicans.
Because since they love him so, they're going to look at those people up there in the area where he was barred. And if you are a sleeper and halfway thinking you ought to vote for the Republicans in another state, you're going to wake up and you're going to do it. Because you are being told that they are fighting against Donald Trump because he's leading in the polls everywhere with the Republican candidates that's running for presidency. And they do know that if you want him to be president, create controversy. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have something to do with that.
Now, it's a lot of controversies going on. The former governor of the state of New York, Giuliani, was he a governor or a mayor?
Well, he was the mayor.
He was the mayor. And so he was once Americans' idol, the darling of America.
That's right.
He's fallen from grace.
Now he is a disgraceful American. Every time you see him in public, he's getting worse and worse, and broker and broker.
Now, the judge just ruled that the two black women should get $148 million for the way that he disparaged their name and the way that he talked about them. The judge gave them $148 million. But you know, after that, he kept talking about them. He didn't stop.
Well, because he doesn't have to. See, the president knows, former president knows, and people don't like to hear the truth, he knows that there's nothing going to happen to him. Even if he is given a sentence, he's not going to stay in jail not one night. He will be bailed out the same night.
How's he going to get out?
He's not going to have to get out. He's not going to get in because his lawyer's going to bail him out. And they're going to give him his walking papers, say, we'll call you when we get ready you to come to trial. He's not going to win. I mean, the Democrats are not going to win by hurting Trump. The Republicans now want to do Joe Biden the same way. And Joe Biden, even if he wins and Trump wins, they still going to work together as a team. They're going to always pardon each other. You don't have to worry about a president in America going to prison. Just not going to happen. Look what they did with old Davis during the Civil War. He got a pardon. All the Southerners got a pardon that was fighting in the Civil War. And they gave them reparations for their slaves, gave them their land back, and passed, I believe it was the 14th Amendment that gave black citizenship and say all except those that have been violating the law. So they created a lot of laws so every black man that didn't have a job would be violating the law. And they were in what we call involuntary servitude, where you can say this man has violated the law, he doesn't have a job, he is a tyrant, he is a lover of laziness, he is idle, and that poor boy is walking around to the various towns looking for a job, and now he's in prison.
Now, Doc, you mentioned
working
the word
free.
You mentioned the word reparations. I'm told that France wanted Haiti to pay them reparations once they declared their independence.
Of course. They're doing the same thing in Africa today. They kicked those Frenchmen out of Africa, and they said, well, that is good. Say, we have less trouble now because we're going to write your constitution. We're going to make you pay us for kicking us out, and we're going to control you still through bank loans. And then if you act like you don't want to pay us, we're going to cause a coup, and we're going to put our boy in, and we still going to rule Africa. Do you hear me, Africans? Do you understand? And they understand. But there's going to be a change there. The Africans going to rise again. I guarantee you. They have more and more young Africans now in their 30s and 40s and early 50s that are getting in politics, and some of them are talking strong. Say, Africa for Africans. And Marcus Garvey said that many years ago. It's coming back, and it's going to happen again. The Africans going to be ruling all over the world, just like the Chinese and the Russians. And the Europeans know it. That's why they don't want to have Africa one vote, one nation, one military, one currency. If the Africans would have enough sense to do that, and they do have enough sense to do it, but since they have so many coups, the people are assassinating the presidents every time they start talking about unity. But one day, you're going to find assassinations going to go beyond the border of Africa because people know who is paying people to assassinate people in other countries. They have so much artificial intelligence now. The Americans, the Russians, the Chinese always know what their opponents are doing. They know what the president eats for breakfast in all the nations of the world. They know the meetings they're having right now. They can garner their intelligence through artificial
So did
technology.
Israel know that Hamas was going to bomb Israel
Of course they knew.
before they did it?
Of course. Why do you think they control everything in Palestine? Everything. The water, the food, the energy, the technology.
They control the water and the food for the
Technology,
Palestinian people?
the hospitals, everything. So when they were feeding them, giving them or not giving them water, they did them just like they did the American Indians when the Americans were so-called trying to feed them. They would halfway kill all the animals, and then, the buffalo, and then halfway starve them to death.
Now, Doc,
Polluted the water in many areas. That's history for you. But that's why your folks don't want to talk about critical race theory. And since we are experts on it, we're going to talk about it one of these days.
One of these days we're going to talk about it because, it could free us as a people if we have an understanding. And first of all, the cruelty associated with slavery and wars didn't seem to be all about I don't like you as much as it did about controlling the economics and
That's
the
all it's
resources of the world.
It has nothing to do with likes. I just told you, man don't like each other.
They don't like each
Man
other.
lacks power. Man lacks influence. Man loves war. And war is not bad if it's done for a good purpose, like eliminating the dictator. But who want to kill the dictators? Because those people that want to kill the dictator or the lower person that's on the lower level that's in the military, and he knows if he says anything about it, he's going to be court-martialed. So he just goes along. What are my orders, boss?
What are my orders?
Well, you're going to have to get on a plane and go to another country and fight. You're gonna have to
Kamikazes.
that's right. You're going to have to get in this ship and go and shoot some missiles down.
Suicide bombs.
That's what America doing right now. They have the big old ship over there
Now,
shooting missiles down out of the air. So that means we have, and people don't want to believe it, America is involved in this war. I read about it today, last week. The big boys in the Pentagon are over there probably right now. Two of the top generals in America over there negotiating, trying to tell the Israeli chief that you shouldn't be so aggressive. You got to be gentle. You got to feed the people. You just can't kill all the children and the women. You can't just blow up these places indiscriminately. On and on and on. But at the same time, we're going to give you money to do what you need to do. But we're going to tell you in public what not to do. And in private, I'm not going to say they say that's your own decision. But I'm familiar with those kind of things. When I worked for the government, that's the way we used to do it sometimes. I worked with them for 6 years on the national level.
now, Doc, America's hands are not clean in this war. No more than Pontius Pilate's hands were clean during the crucifixion.
Look, when you're a major country, sir, when you have the best so-called reputation of being free, when you have the best military, you have some of the smartest people in the world, you have the most advanced technology in the world, and you use that to enhance your sphere of influence. So the people want you. The dictators want to love you. The countries that are so-called third world countries want to be your friend just to get what you have. And if you don't give it to them, they will say, if you don't give me $200 million, I'm going to go to the Russians, the Chinese, and then the Americans supposed to say, well, let's have a little meeting about this, and I can't give you $200 or $300 million, but I can give you $100 million to stay with us. and proclaim that you have democracy. And we are going to work with you because we have some of the greatest constitutionalists in the world. We're going to send our advisors over and help you write a new constitution.
Well, so how is democracy supposed to work if you are the minority? If there are only 18 million Jews and you occupy Palestine, and there are 200 million of them, how is democracy supposed to work in that environment?
So there's no such thing as democracy. I've never known a country that practiced democracy in reality. Never. In the history of the world.
What are you talking about? Well, America, we say that we practice democracy.
That's what you're supposed to say. That's what you've been taught to say in your books. But if you look at the constitutions, if you look at even how the president is elected, and when I've been telling people for at least 50 years that I believe it's 538 people elect the president of the United States, called the Electoral College, 538. I've been challenged and talked about and criticized. Stop lying. You just say anything. I tell them all, do the research. The popular vote is not worth anything on the national level when you're voting for the president. 538 people elects him. If all the people, except 2, vote for the president, and all the Electoral College people vote for him, except 2, he will win with 536 votes.
Do you have any examples of where that happened?
There are a few examples.
Okay, I think someone said that Hillary Clinton had more popular votes.
And there was another instance too. That's why she had more popular votes, but I told you that's insignificant. That means nothing. And I believe another was when Bush won.
Gore.
That's right. Bush and Gore had a little problem. And Gore was smart. He said, I'm not going to challenge this thing. You know, they get together in these dark corners and make a deal with those kind of folks. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. We got something for you. We're going to give you what I like to call a silver tit. Say, man, you're going to have a job the rest of your life. We're going to make you a traveling ambassador.
And when you go to Washington, D.C. as a broke man, you come back very rich.
You're supposed to. If you don't do that, you shouldn't be in office. Anyone that's in politics at the top level, anyone that's at the top level in these churches, anyone that's at the top level in industry ought to be rich, because that's the way to get rich. Fight your way to the top and maintain that top position and keep your opponents out through any means necessary. That's exactly what they do.
Wow, that's heavy. Now, I'm told that the Democrats want Clarence Thomas to recuse themselves on all issues surrounding Donald Trump. Now, why would the Democrats, who the majority of black folk are members of that party, why would they want a black man to recuse himself?
Well, that's because of their hypocrisy. They wanted Clarence Thomas to be the judge. They knew he was not the top qualified candidate when they nominated him a long time ago. They had all kinds of claims of what I call undercover deeds and wheeling and dealing. You saw that, you were a young man at the time, you saw that on television, read about it. But they said, I have to have him. And one of the boys that supported him strong was President Joe Biden and other big-time senators at the time. They know that they have the good man. They have a man that's going to do what they have been doing, and they think Clarence Thomas is stupid. He is one of the smartest judges around. He went up there halfway poor and halfway broke, and he said, I'm not glad all these people living out here in these mansions, got private planes, and got kids going to the top universities, and my folks ain't got nothing. I'm going to work with them. I'm going to be favorable to them. If I see one somewhere, I'm going to be his friend. If he want to give me a ride in his nice private plane and invite me to his place, I'm going to take advantage of it, because Thomas knows that the others do the same thing and have always been under. That's why I don't have any laws against that. They have something called rules of ethics. Doesn't mean a thing. That's like somebody saying I'm a Christian and I'm going to heaven because I follow the 10 Commandments. That's why I told you I don't know any practicing Christians.
Well, Doc, I tell you, I'm going to have to introduce you to some.
Please do that.
I'm going to have
when
to.
When are you going to do that?
I'm going to invite some to come to our show.
You better not invite one. You have a hard time getting a real one
Matter
over
of
here.
fact, I spoke to my bishop, Ronnie Crudup, about coming to this show to talk about Christianity.
Oh, really?
And I told him that it would be very difficult and it would be heated over here. He said he looks forward to the challenge.
That's a sharp guy. He would be the best one to invite over.
Yeah,
He has strong Christian views.
he does.
And I have strong Christian views in reality, too.
Doc, we're getting close to the end of our program, so I want to lighten up a little bit. You and I, we deal with issues so hard until sometimes we got to add a little humor to our dialogue.
Well, that's always a good approach.
Now, I'm told that Supervisor David Archie, one of the local politicians here in Jackson, Mississippi, on the Board of Supervisors, who lost the election, who has challenged the election results. But he recently held a press conference and said that the former election commissioner should be put in jail because she violated her probation by going to nightclubs and having a good time. Why would a black man feel compelled that he has to destroy a black woman in that way?
Well, some people are envious of certain people when they can get away with stuff. We all want to get away with something, and when we get caught, we want everybody else to get caught. I used to be that way when I was a little boy. When them big boys would take advantage of me, I told you this before, I would take advantage of a smaller one. And any time I found how to take advantage of one big ones through someone else, I would get the other boy that I knew that could fight him or her to get in there and take care of him. And I'll stand on the sideline. And then I would get involved with him. I'd jump in there too. I did that same strategy when I played football. I was a guard in high school, and I couldn't take that tackling, man. We had fullbacks and halfbacks. They would run like an elephant. They were so fast and slinging those knees and elbows. And I would run in there and grab them and see stars every time. I've told you this story before. So I learned how to get my name called on that microphone. I would run behind him and grab him, be right with them. And I would tell them other boys that knew how to tackle, get him, get him. And when they grab him, I'll reach down and pull his leg from under. And then they'll be hollering. Assisted by Eldridge Henderson, number 52. And you have to learn strategies to survive, and that gave me a chance to make the second team. See, if I made the third team, I couldn't travel with the team.
It's important to travel.
You have to learn how to be aggressive.
What did you weigh back then?
I weighed 152 pounds playing guard.
Lord,
See, I wanted to be a running back or a halfback, but the guys that were in those positions started playing in the fields and in middle school and elementary school and other places. They played 5 or 10 years before I even started playing, because I was in the band first, and I didn't start playing until I was a senior in high school. You know, football.
Now, Doc, black men were big back then. I mean, they're big now. I see that too. But I've seen them just pick up cars. I've seen black men just pick up a car by himself and set it over on the other side.
Of course, back in those days, sir, they didn't have no rules on how long you can go to school when you were black. Back in those days, I hate to repeat this old stuff, but that was during segregation, and you could go to school until you're 21 or 22 in high school, get out and go to college. And if you were real good in basketball or football, you can get you a scholarship. And I wasn't real good, but I say I'm going to get me a scholarship to go and play football.
Well, you had a lot of courage at 152 pounds.
But the courage disappeared when I got to the school. And they had guys there from all over Mississippi and a few places from Louisiana that was trying to attend that school that I was trying to attend. I'm not going to mention it. And all those guys in my position weighed from 300 to 450 pounds. And I was such a coward, I didn't even put on my suit. True story. I went and talked to the coach. and say, Coach, I'm a poor boy from Mississippi. You know, I live down there in Bolton. I said, I want to be the water boy. He said, no, L, I already got my water boy. He has a scholarship. It was one of them successful teams in the Delta. Got that old Delta boy where I was born and gave him that job because he knew how to be a good water boy. He knew a little first aid, and he was fast. He'd learned how to take orders from them plantation owners. That coach called him. If he would be asleep, he'd wake up immediately and go and do what he had to do.
He knew how to be a good water boy.
He was good because he had been practicing that on the plantation.
On the plantation.
And on the football team.
We're
going to school two weeks ahead of time, about 2 months out of the year.
We're running out of time here this evening, and so we're coming to the end of our program for this evening. So, Doc, how can the people get in touch with you?
Well, Sock, they can call us at 601-201-1957 or email us at clu369@gmail.com. And folks, I always tell you, you can also call us at 1-800-492-5186. And we will come and talk to you at your school, your church, your community organization, and give you the real news. Now, we're not the sharpest people in the world, but we have enough sense not to tell you everything that you need to do to take advantage of your opportunities, black folks, on this media. We're not going to do that. There are certain things we're not going to tell you to do, but we will tell you how to rule and be dominant in areas where you're the majority, starting on the precinct level all over the world. That's why we are currently in 139 different nations throughout the world. And everything, Mr. Socrates, is about power, not numbers. Power.
Doc, it's been good visiting with you this afternoon. Now, you can always join us for the Doc and Sock show. Coming up later, we're going to have Organize and Don't Criticize with Dr. Eldridge Henderson, and I'm going to sit in with him on that. But that's always an informative show, and we have many good shows that are on this platform every day. And don't forget, We Believe Internet Radio over there with HT3. Want to send a shout out to my good friend and my boy Purtis Williams that's not here with us today. He's out making some money. I want Purtis you to know that we miss you and be glad when you get back here to man your station. And so enjoy all of the things that we're bringing here at We Believe Broadcast Studios to you. Stay safe and have a good evening.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.